The kid sent me 3 photos at 11 p.m. I was in my apartment in Pasay after leaving my house in San Diego 2 years ago. I'd just sent her the monthly $600 4 days earlier. Money she said would help her stop working at the bar, help her focus on us, help her finally get out of that life. Photo 1 was her in a red bodycon dress I'd never seen before. Sitting at a bar in Makati I recognized immediately. The same bar where I used to pick her up 6 months ago. Photo 2 was also her on some white guy's lap. His hand on her thigh. She's laughing, really laughing, the way she used to laugh with me when I thought I was special. Photo 3, different night, different guy. Silver hair beer in one hand. His other arm wrapped around her waist like he owned her. I stared at my phone for 20 minutes. Didn't throw it, didn't curse, didn't call her. Just sat there in the dark, watching my retirement fantasy dissolve into 3 JPEG files sent by a teenage kid I was paying $50 to be my eyes on the ground. That $50, best money I ever spent in the Philippines. Let me tell you why. Welcome back to Journals Beyond Horizons. Today's story comes from Ben, 59 years old, retired engineer, and a guy who thought he'd figured out the perfect system for love in Southeast Asia. Pay for exclusivity, skip the games, avoid the heartbreak. Simple transaction. Clean boundaries. Except nothing about love is ever that simple. And what Ben discovered when he hired a neighborhood teenager to follow his bar girl girlfriend didn't just break his heart. It shattered every assumption he had about loyalty, money, and what you can actually buy in this world. This one's heavy. Stick with us. Because the ending, you won't see it coming. Here's Ben's story in his own words. My God, I don't know where to start. I still can't believe that I'll be taking my time to write a story in, but I believe this is the best way to get this off my chest. The name's Ben, Benjamin in full. I'm 59, worked in civil engineering most of my life, project-based stuff, water treatment plants, infrastructure builds. The job took me all over. Dubai, Singapore, Indonesia, and eventually the Philippines. Here's the thing about engineering. You learn to think in systems. Inputs, outputs, variables you can control, variables you can't. Risk mitigation, cost-benefit analysis. I applied that same logic to my retirement. Did the math at 57, realized I could retire early if I lived smart. Not rich, I've got a pension of about $3,800 a month, some savings, a paid-off condo in San Diego that I rent out for $2,100. Total monthly income, roughly $5,900. In America, that's lower middle class. In the Philippines, I could live like more than comfortably on $2,000 a month and bank the rest. So 2 years ago, I started spending extended time in Manila, 3 months, then 6 months, then longer, testing the waters before I fully committed to retiring there. I wanted to see what it was really like, not as a tourist staying in 5-star hotels, but as a local, or as close to local as a white guy with an American passport can get. I rented a modest apartment in Pasay, not a luxury condo, just a regular Filipino apartment complex. Cost me 22,000 pesos a month, about $400. First thing I learned, the landlord was charging me double what he charged Filipino tenants. Found out while I was sitting down with a Filipino and he was pouring out his heart about the recent rent increase. The landlord added 20% to their rent, which went up to around 14,000 pesos, I think. I was amazed when I found out, and I didn't even let him know. I just went on with the flow and complained too. Same unit, 2 doors down, but I was paying 22,000 pesos, while he was paying around 11,000 before, but now 14,000. Was I pissed? Sure. For about 10 minutes or so. Then I ran the math. Even at double the price, I was still paying less than a week's rent in San Diego, or just a week max. Reporting him would take months, cost money I didn't want to spend, and accomplish nothing. His property, his rules, I could accept the foreigner tax, or spend my retirement fighting battles I'd never win. I accepted it, moved on. That's how I approached everything in the Philippines. Yes, I'd get overcharged sometimes. Yes, I'd be seen as the walking ATM. But even with the markup, my life was cheaper, warmer, and infinitely more interesting than sitting in California, watching my savings evaporate on property taxes and healthcare. I adapted, learned to eat where locals ate, Carinderia lunches for 80 pesos, street BBQ for pocket change. But I wasn't trying to live like I was poor. I'd go to Western restaurants when I wanted a steak, hit the malls when I needed air conditioning and decent coffee. And yeah, I went to the bars, not every night, not even every week. But when the apartment felt too quiet, when my own thoughts got too loud, I'd head to the girly bars in Makati or Ermita. Have a few drinks, buy some lady drinks, pay the bar fine, bring a girl home. Transactional, simple, no pretending it was anything else. I wasn't looking for love. I'd been married once, years ago, back in my 30s. It didn't work out. No dramatic blow up, just slow entropy. We wanted different things. She stayed in the States. I kept chasing projects overseas. Eventually, we signed papers and moved on. Since then, I'd had girlfriends here and there, nothing serious. I figured at my age, with my lifestyle, marriage wasn't in the cards, and I was fine with that. Then I met Camille. I met her at a place in Makati. The place was just a mid-tier go-go bar. Decent crowd. Not as sleazy as some of the spots in Ermita, but not upscale either. Music too loud, lights too dim. Girls in bikinis dancing on a stage that had seen better days. Camille was slim, about 5 feet 3 inches, with long dark hair and this face that was, I don't know, different. Prettier than most of the girls in that bar, I'm not exaggerating. She genuinely stood out. Not in a flashy way, though. Also, she didn't dance as aggressively as the others, didn't shout or grab at customers. Just moved with this quiet confidence, like she was working but not desperate. I waved her over, bought her a lady drink, asked her the usual questions, where she's from, how long she'd been working there. She said about 8 months if I can remember clearly, but it was either 18 or 19 months. I also asked her if she liked it, but she shrugged. I was direct, told her I wanted company for the night. She nodded. No games, no fake girlfriend act. I paid the bar fine, 2,500 pesos, was high from what I've paid, but then I didn't want to argue, just paid, and we left. Back at my place, it was what it was, professional, efficient. She did her job, I paid her 3,000 pesos on top of the bar fine, and she left in the morning. No lingering, no promises, no, when will I see you again? I liked that. Clean transaction, no complications. But then I went there again, even took her number this time, called her again a week later, and again the week after that. By the third time, I started thinking, why keep rotating through different girls? It's risky STDs, drama, the hassle of explaining what I want every time. I remembered getting a nasty infection about a year before this. Antibiotics, clinic visits. It lasted about 2 weeks, and you guessed that. It was a complete misery. I'd sworn I'd be smarter about who I slept with from then. I think that's the reason I go with the pretty ones, the ones who look neat. Well, that's how I started seeing only Camille. She had my number. I'd text her when I wanted her to come over. She'd show up. We'd spend the night. I'd pay her. It worked. And somewhere in there, I stopped seeing her as just a bar girl. I started noticing things. How she'd always shower before leaving. How she'd fold my clothes if they were scattered on the floor. How she'd laugh at my terrible Tagalog pronunciation when I tried to attempt it. Yeah, it was small things. But that's what makes us humans, I guess. At that moment I remembered, I started wondering, what if she didn't have to go back to that bar? It was about 3 months into our arrangement when I brought it up. We were lying in bed, early morning, the kind of quiet where you say things you wouldn't say in daylight. She was scrolling through her phone, probably checking messages from her friends or family members. I remembered this moment vividly like yesterday. Camille, I said. What if you stopped working at the bar? She looked at me, confused. What do you mean? I mean, what if I paid you to stop, just see me? No one else. She then set her phone down and asked why. I told her, because I don't want to share you. And honestly, I don't want to keep worrying about infections or drama. This, I gestured, between us works. Why complicate it? She was quiet for a moment, then she said, How much? $500 a month. That's close to 30,000 pesos, more than you're probably making at the bar. She laughed, surprised, and said, Ben, I make that on a bad month. On a good month, I make 40,000, sometimes 50,000. I blinked. 40,000 pesos? That's over $700. Yeah, some girls make more, way more. They work at bigger bars, do extra things, private shows, VIP clients. I don't do that. I just work the floor, do bar fines, and I'm careful who I go with. But yeah, 30,000 is not enough. I wasn't offended, I was impressed. She was running a business, and she knew her numbers better than most entrepreneurs I'd met. Okay, I said, what if I made it $600 US, guaranteed every month? No bar, no customers, no dancing, just us. She thought about it, really thought about it. Why do you want this? She asked. Because I like you, and I'm getting older. I don't want to keep rotating through strangers. I want something stable, predictable. You'd be exclusive to me, and I'd take care of you. What if I say no? Then nothing changes. We keep doing what we're doing, but I think this is better for both of us. She looked at me for a long time. Then she sighed. Can you do $700? I cannot do more than $600, I told her, and I can add an extra 100 if you need help with something specific, family emergency, whatever, but that's it. She nodded slowly. Okay, but I need to tell you something first. My family thinks I work at a call center, Camille said. They don't know about the bar. I nodded. I'd assumed as much. Most bar girls told their families they were waitresses, sales clerks, anything but the truth. I send money home every month, she continued. 15,000 pesos, sometimes more. My parents are in Batangas. My younger brother and sister are still in school, high school. I'm paying for their tuition, their supplies, everything. What about your older brother? I asked. I remembered her mentioning him once. Her expression changed. He's in Germany. We all saved money to send him there. Me, my parents, even my Lola. It cost us almost 300,000 pesos for the placement fee, visa, everything, and that was years ago. He was supposed to get a good job, send money back, help us. That was the deal. And? He stopped answering calls, or he'd answer, complain he's not making enough, say he's doing menial work because he's not educated. He sends maybe 50 euros every few months, sometimes nothing for half a year. Then he'll call and act like he's doing us a favor. She wasn't angry, just tired. So yeah, she said, I can't just stop working. My family needs me. But if you give me $600 a month guaranteed, I can stop the bar. I can still send money home and I don't have to do this anymore. I understood. She wasn't working because she loved it. She was working because she had no choice. And I was offering her a different option. Deal, I said. We hugged, and for the first time in months in the Philippines, I felt like I'd engineered something that might actually work. For the first 2 months, it was perfect. Camille stopped going to the bar. I'd send her the $600 at the start of every month, clean and simple. She'd come over 3, sometimes 4 times a week. We'd watch movies, eat together, talk. She started leaving clothes at my place, a toothbrush, shampoo. It felt comfortable. I wasn't in love, I'm not that naive, but I liked having her around, and she seemed happy, or at least content. Then came the first emergency. Ben, she said one night, her voice kinda tight, I need to ask you something. What's up? My mum needs surgery, gallbladder. The public hospital is free, but the wait is months. Private hospital can do it next week, but it costs 40,000 pesos. 40,000 pesos. I didn't hesitate. I'll send it tomorrow. Her face crumpled. Really? Yeah, your mum needs surgery, right? That's not something you wait on. She hugged me, tight. Thank you. I'll pay you back. Don't worry about it. I sent the money. Her mum got the surgery. Everything was fine. 2 months later it happened again. Ben, my mum needs another procedure, follow-up from the surgery. It's 25,000 pesos. 25,000, about $400. This time I paused. Another surgery. What kind of follow-up costs that much? It's complications. I don't know all the medical terms, but the doctor says she needs it. I didn't fully believe her, but I also didn't want to be the guy who let someone's mom suffer because I was paranoid. I'll send 15,000, I said. That's what I can spare right now. She nodded. Okay, thank you. I sent it, told myself it was fine. Medical emergencies happen, but then, a month later, she called again. Ben, there's been a typhoon in my hometown. Our roof got ripped off. We need 30,000 pesos to fix it. 30,000. That's about $500, man. I just sent her the monthly $600 3 days earlier. Camille, I said, I just sent you your payment. Can't you use that? That's for my family's living expenses, for food, my siblings' school. This is separate. This is an emergency. Everything's an emergency with you. I told her. She went silent for a while and said, Ben, I'm not lying. I didn't say you were, but I can't keep doing this. I gave you money for your mom twice. Now you want more for the roof. When does it stop? Her voice went cold. So you won't help? I'm saying use the $600 I already sent. Prioritize. That's what I have to do. She hung up, and just like that, Everything changed. After that call, Camille went ice cold. She stopped texting first. When I'd message her, she'd reply hours later with one-word answers. Busy. Tired. Maybe. When she did come over, she was different. Quiet. Distant. She'd check her phone constantly, then flip it face down when she caught me looking. One night, she got up in the middle of a movie to take a call outside. Spoke in Tagalog, low and fast, came back minutes later. Who was that? I asked. My friend. Must have been important, she shrugged. Just girl stuff. I didn't push it, but I knew. Something had shifted. The visits became less frequent, twice a week, then just once in a week most times. She'd make excuses, family obligations, feeling sick, needing to help a friend. I started wondering, was she seeing other guys again? I had no proof, just a gut feeling. The same gut feeling that told me when a project was going off the rails before the data showed it. And that's when I remembered the kid. There was this teenager who lived in her apartment complex. Maybe 17, maybe 18, hard to tell. Skinny kid, always in a worn-out basketball jersey, and always on this particular flip-flops. He'd hang around the entrance, ask tenants for spare change. Usually see him when I went to Camille's place. Most people ignored him. I'd give him 20, sometimes 50, or even 100 pesos when I was in a good mood, just because I remembered being broke once. One day I stopped and actually talked to him. What's your name? Edgy, sir. You go to school, Edge? He shook his head. Stopped in grade 10. No money for tuition. You looking for work? I remember the lit up in his eyes and he said, yes, sir. Anything. I thought for a moment, then I said, how would you like to earn real money? Not handouts. A job. What kind of job, sir? I pulled out my phone, showed him a picture of Camille. No need for introduction as he knew her already and has definitely saw us together. I need you to follow this girl, see where she goes at night, who she's with. Take pictures if you can. You do that for 2 weeks, I'll pay you 2,000 pesos. That's about $40 though. To him it was probably more than he'd made in months. But then he said his phone didn't have cameras. He pulled out a beat-up flip phone. Honestly, I didn't expect him to even have a phone then, but then... I told him that the next time I come around I would bring him a phone. I eventually brought the phone. I was an old Samsung smartphone I wasn't using anymore. Told him it was his and he should just consider it a signing bonus. I'll load it with some data. You use this to take pictures, send them to my number. Can you do that? He kept admiring the phone. It was so funny. He understood the assignment. Just when she goes out to the bar at night. The bar was a walkable distance and that's it, I told him. Nothing more. For the first week, Edge sent me nothing. Just check-in texts. Watching, sir. Nothing yet. I started thinking maybe I was paranoid. Maybe Camille really was just busy. Maybe I'd wasted $45 and a phone on my own insecurity. For 8 days, nothing. Then, on the 9th night, my phone buzzed. EJ told me she had just left. Red dress, went to the bar as he followed her. I told him to carefully take photos of her at the bar, and then he should go home. About 5 minutes later, the first photo came through. Camille, in a red skimpy dress I'd never seen, at the bar, same bar where I'd met her 6 months ago. I stared at the photo for a long time. Told myself maybe she was just meeting a friend. Maybe it was an innocent meet-up. But Edge didn't go home as I had asked him to, because another photo arrived. About 20 minutes later, Camille sitting at the bar, some white guy next to her, his hand on her thigh. She was leaning into him, laughing, her hand on his shoulder. I zoomed in, looked at her face. Those laughter looked real. Couldn't even tell if they were fake or not. 3 days later, Edge sent me another update. EJ. Sir, she went out again. Different bar this time, sending pictures. This time it was a different guy. Not too old, but had silver hair, his arm around her waist. She was looking up at him, smiling. The third set of photos came a week later. Same bar as the first time. Same guy from the first photos. She was sitting on his lap now, his hand resting on her hip. I counted the photos. 3 separate nights, 2 different men. All while I had sent the $600 a month to be exclusive. I didn't feel angry. I felt stupid. Because the math was right there, and I'd ignored it. She was making more working the bar than I was paying her. Of course she went back. I'd offered her stability, but she'd chosen flexibility. She preferred 500 this month and 700 next month, then 600 this month and 600 next month. And also, I was just one client. I gave Edge his 2,500 pesos the next time I saw him. and also told him good job. We were into the 4th day of the next month, and something crazy happened. Camille was now calling me, and I was ignoring her calls. She eventually came over and was asking for her monthly payment. Very funny girl. Imagine this was someone that has been avoiding to come over and now she's here. Well, I told her I'm not giving her a dime, and then I pulled out my phone, opened the photos, and handed it to her. She scrolled through them slowly. Her face didn't change. "Where did you get these?" she asked quietly. "Does it matter?" She handed the phone back. "You had someone follow me." "You were supposed to stop working, that was the deal." "I did stop," she said, her voice rising. "For 2 months I stopped, but then you wouldn't help me when I needed it the most." "My family still needs money, Ben. The $600 you send isn't enough." "You told me it was enough. You agreed to it." "I didn't know there'd be emergencies." "There's always emergencies with you, Camille. Your mum's surgery, the follow-up, the roof. When I said no to the roof, you went right back to the bar." "Because I had no choice," she was yelling now. "You think I want to do this? You think I like having older men touch me, buy me drinks, take me home? I do it because my family needs me, because my brother won't help, because my parents can't work anymore, because I'm the only one holding everything together." "Then why lie? Why not just tell me you needed more money?" She laughed bitterly. "Because you would have said no. Or worse, you would have made me beg for it. I didn't want to beg, Ben. I wanted to handle it myself. By going behind my back. You don't own me and, well, I'm not your wife or even your girlfriend. You gave me $600 a month. That doesn't mean you own me. That doesn't mean I stopped being a person with a family and problems and a life outside of you." I stood there, silent. She wiped her face and then she asked, "Is that all? Are we done?" "Yeah," I said quietly. "We're done." She turned to leave, then I stopped her. "For what it's worth," I said, "I wasn't trying to own you, I was trying to help you. I thought we had something." She looked at me angrily. "You were trying to buy something, Ben, and I was trying to survive. We were never on the same page." "Yeah, I guess so." She then left, and the whole time I kept thinking about what she'd said. You were trying to buy something, she was right. I spent the next week alone in my apartment going over everything. Not just the photos, not just the lies, but the whole setup. I pulled out a notebook. Yeah, I still use paper for important stuff and wrote it all down. What I spent on Camille over about 7 months, $600 per month, added up to about $4,000 plus her mom's surgery, about $700. And let's not forget the follow-up procedure, which costed about $300. I paid bar fines. Before we had a deal too. Don't know how much exactly though. And again, there was miscellaneous dinners, small gifts, which I would round up to $500, including the bar fines. I would say the total is about $5,500. And what did I get? Companionship? Sure. But for a while, exclusivity? No. That was the whole point, and I didn't get it. Love? No. That was never on the table. What I got was a temporary arrangement that fell apart the moment money got tight. And the truth is, I knew that from the start. I just didn't want to admit it. Many people will say she did what she had to do to survive. Her family needed money, and I wasn't giving her enough. So she went back to what worked, but my point is, was she wrong to lie? Yeah. But was I wrong to think $600 a month could buy loyalty? I would say yes too. What I've realized while sitting in that apartment, looking at my $5,000 gone and almost nothing to show for it. You can't engineer love. You can't run a cost-benefit analysis on human emotion and expect it to follow the plan. I treated Camille like a project. Inputs, outputs, deliverables. And when the variables changed, the whole system collapsed. I thought I was being smart, practical, avoiding the traps that other expats would likely fall into, trying to find love. But I was just another foreigner throwing money at a problem and calling it a solution. Money isn't always the solution. The $50 I paid Edge, that didn't save me from heartbreak. It just confirmed what I already suspected. And honestly, I don't know if that's better or worse. But now I have taken my mind of marriage, I feels like at an older age it's just better to stay alone. My idea of using money to buy love is no longer valid anymore because it will always end badly. It would not likely end well. Ben or Benjamin, I answer both. Here's the question I want to ask. Who's the bad guy in this story? Is it Camille for taking Ben's money while still working the bars? Or is it Ben for thinking $600 a month could buy a human being's loyalty? Here's what we know. She lied. That's a fact. He tried to control her with money. Also a fact. She was surviving. He was trying to engineer a relationship. Both of them were transacting. Neither of them were honest about what they really wanted. Ben spent over $5,000 over 7 months. The PI investigation cost him $50 and confirmed his suspicions. By the numbers, he got out cheap. Some guys lose 50 grand, 100 grand, building houses and businesses for women who disappear the moment the money stops. If this story hit you differently than you expected, hit that like button and subscribe to Journals Beyond Horizons. Drop a comment. Was Camille wrong for going back to the bar, or was Ben delusional for thinking he could buy loyalty with that amount of money? And here's the harder question: in a transactional world, is there still true love? Next week, we have another story about the complicated relationships between foreigners and the cultures they try to inhabit. Until then, stay safe out there, everyone, and thanks for watching.